You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, hit that follow, like, subscribe, leave us a review, all of those things. Comment if you want. And if you want to take the conversation beyond just listening to the podcast, go to Facebook and type in Roofing Success and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today, we got our first guest from up north. This is our first Canadian roofing contractor that we've had on our show. One of our beautiful neighbors to the north, Talebi. How are you today, brother?
Good, Jim. How are you? I'm happy to be the first Canadian.
That's right, the first Canadian. We got to hear from you. There are roofs in Canada, believe it or not.
And it's not all made from ice and igloos and
yeah. lots of them, and contractors in Canada struggle with a lot of the same things that we do down here in south of the, down south.
Down south, that's right.
I'm probably north of you in Minnesota, and you being in the Toronto area, I'm probably actually north of you, but geographically. But good to have you, man. And, we were talking a while ago about, your background. Why don't you kind of give us a little background on your company and how you got into roofing?
Like I tell everybody, I didn't get into roofing. Roofing got into me. I had a marketing background from school. I had sales experience. And at the time, a former business partner of mine approached me. He had his own little setup and worked with a few different guys. And he said, I want to have my own business. Would you be interested in, doing the sales for me? And I knew very early on that I didn't want to work for people, and I just wanted to have my own business. So, full disclosure, I kind of fell into roofing, and I learned to like it, and I learned to love it, and just kind of make it something for it myself. It wasn't something I set out to do.
I think there's a lot of entrepreneurial blood in the industry, right? Like, one of the main things you'd mentioned it, never wanting to work for other people. What, in your life, what has that, how has that kind of manifested in itself? You kind of roofing chose you essentially because this is the business that you're in, but when the opportunity for roofing was in front of you, what kind of decision-making process did you have to determine if this was a path you wanted to go down?
It was a number of things. I had an understanding of the industry, so I knew that there was money to be made. I knew there was always going to be a demand for it, so I kind of looked at it from just like a fundamental business point of view. Two, I was really keen to kind of put my marketing prowess, or whatever you want to call it, that I picked up in school. I wanted to put some ideas in. I wanted to do things differently than what I saw other roofing companies were doing. And I was young. I was 22. So the way I looked at it is, I'm like, even if I fail, I'll try something different, or I can always go back to working for somebody. But that was basically it. I just looked at it as my chance to do something. That's all.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, and youth is a beautiful thing, right? When you have a lot of time to make it up. So, yeah, it goes away quickly, right? You lose that youth quickly. So, I think that's a big gap, right? And it's really when you're going into business, a lot of times you're finding gaps in where you think you could do better than the competitors. What did you see in the Toronto area roofing industry? What were the biggest gaps you found?
Right off the top, I would just say professionalism and presentation. Like it seemed to be really lacking. Um, I remember very early on, homeowners and clients would kind of give us feedback of like, oh, wow, I can't believe you replied back to our email the next day. Or, your guys are so clean and presentable. Like just very little things that and I come from like a corporate background, suit and tie before. And I didn't understand it. And I always used to tell myself, I'm like, if I showed up like this at somebody's home to try to sell them a roof, the way some people are selling us roofs or anything for that matter, I wouldn't buy it. So why is anybody else?
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that we really pinned on, was just the professionalism, the presentation, how you dress, how you speak, code of conduct on site in terms of how the staff behaves. There's no cursing, there's no loud music, like just little things like that. And it had nothing to do with like the quality of the workmanship. I wasn't even saying like, oh, everyone's a bad roofer and I'm the best roofer. It was just more like all these little things. And I kept thinking, I'm like, I would pay a little bit more if the company that came that did my roof did it just as good as the guy next door, but just was a little bit more clean, a little bit more professional, whatever it was. I just started justifying that, and I made it more about customer service than anything else. And that, again, the image.
And isn't it amazing that you get comments like that? Right? Like, wow, I can't believe you called us back in a day.
Yeah. A lot of times they're like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, well, like most trades, they just, or like when I remember even just placing an order and calling them and saying, hey, we're going to be coming by in 2 days, this and that. And they're like, oh, I thought you guys would just show up. And I'm like, well, why would we? And it just, and I wasn't a homeowner then, right? I was young. I was still living at home. So I couldn't fathom how there are people out there making a living doing business this way.
Yeah, it's amazing, I think the industry has been changing. How many years have you been working on your company's called The Roofers?
Yeah, so the roofer, 2003, my brother. So I've been doing this now for 15 years.
Yeah. So how have you seen the industry change in regards to that over the last 15 years? Because that was in the beginning, right? You're like, man, what? I mean, not professionally dressed. Your crews are in even if it's just the same T-shirt, right? Like a lot of just the little details. What have you seen change in the industry for the better?
Oh, I think a lot of that has changed. One thing that's really helped us and contractors like us is homeowners are more informed than they ever were.
Oh yeah,
I remember 15 years ago, the conversation would be like, oh, okay, well, what are you looking for, Mr. Customer, and this and that. I'd be like, I want a great roof and a great price. And I remember at the beginnings, it was really hard to convince people why they need ISO and water shield, why they need underlayment, right? And now I love it. Like it puts the biggest smile on our faces, mine, the sales staff, when a homeowner comes out with a full long list of everything. Oh, I want this, and the internet told me this. And we're just like, yeah, we do that. We always do that. We always do that. So that's the one really good thing is the homeowner, the client has become a lot more educated, a lot more informed. And that's actually helped us. Like
yeah.
an ignorant, respectfully, an ignorant client is not a good client.
No, a lot of them just want the best price.
Yeah, a lot of them just want and truly, the other part of it, Jim, it's not even price. Like a lot of people just don't know.
For sure.
And right off the bat, they just don't know. And all of a sudden, like we always tell homeowners, I'm like, listen, even if you don't want to go with us, do your own research. But the guy that's telling you, okay, you can go over top of your old roof, or you don't need underlayment, or you don't need new flash things. Like this doesn't add up. If you don't trust me, that's fine, but do your own research. And I think that's what's helped.
Yeah.
The internet.
The internet has helped a lot, and it's hurt in some cases too, right? Because there's more decisions. The people can research you a lot, which is good for a company like yours that tries to do the right thing, on an ongoing basis. But it's bad for contractors who don't. Um, so in those in the conversations from then until now, how have you changed your marketing? Let's talk about marketing first. So let's talk about when you started your company and you were, the ideas you had about how to market your roofing company, and then now when you're marketing to the uneducated consumer back then, and now to the informed consumer of today.
So a few things have changed in terms of marketing. I find that for us, I can't even say as an industry, but for us, the focus became less on quantity and more on quality.
Hmm.
So you said, like, homeowners, they do their research and they look you up and they ask you 1,000 questions, and it's more options and it's more back and forth. That's okay. We prefer that. One of the things we learned very early on were homeowners that would just say, leave a quote, just leave a quote at the door in the mailbox. And our point was, if you're not willing to take 30 minutes out of the day to meet me, to feel comfortable with us doing your roof, um, this isn't going to work. So in terms of marketing, what we've done is we focused more on our marketing on, again, higher end roofing systems. So we are GAF Master Elite contractor. There's like about 2% of us in North America, and there's probably, I don't know, a dozen or so in Ontario at least. And we focus on that. So when we talk to our customers, it's about, hey, top of the line shingles, top of the line roofing system, top of the line warranty. If it's not asphalt shingles, okay, it's Da Vinci synthetic slate. It's like everything about us is not to toot our own horn, but it's based on higher end. So within our marketing, everything from, believe it or not, our business cards to our sweaters, our trucks, everything reflects that. Everything reflects. I don't know if the right word to use is premium, but you are essentially getting the best of the best. And we put a lot of focus on showing customers that. I personally don't think you should be buying a $20,000 roof from someone that's driving a $2,000 truck. That's just my own, or a company that doesn't have their own office and doesn't have a proper website. Like that's what I found. Like, it's one thing if you just throw out flyers and banners and radio ads and try to get leads. You can call that marketing too. But if you just focus on what you're doing already and just continue to do it better, I think it pays dividends.
So in the reflection of that higher end brand, a premium brand, um, you know, are you purposefully marketing that way to speak to your perfect customer?
Yeah, you basically, yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Um, I like, it's one of the first things that we do when we want to qualify a lead is we ask, what are your intentions with the home? How long are you staying there? Because right off the bat, we want them to understand if they're just looking for the cheapest price because they're selling their home or whatever it may be, we're not right for them. And they
Yeah.
don't want to waste. I don't think they want their time wasted either, right? So we have this conversation, and everything from our website to homeowners, we try to, like you said, target that base, the guy that's going to pull us up and say, okay, based on these accreditations, based on all these reviews, I know I'm not getting Joe Blow
Yeah.
that's working out of his truck. And no offense to Joe Blow, I always say there's a customer for Joe Blow, and there's a customer for us, and there's a customer for someone that's even better than us, right? Um, just we can't service everybody,
Yep.
so we want to service the right people.
And you guys have you're not unique, but I think that a lot of times in the industry, this dream gets sold of of continuing to grow your roofing business to, first to seven figures, then to eight, multiple seven figures, then to eight figures, and, just into the multiple eight-figure businesses. And there's this path of like, if you're not doing that, you're not a successful, right? And you guys over the years have decided, hey, we're not going to be an eight-figure company. We're happy at this level that we're at. And but now when we're talking, because I've talked to you about that before, now in that representation, then are you focusing on optimizing your bottom line versus top line?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Or you're right. We are focusing more on quality than quantity.
Yep.
We have, I mean, I know the US market is different than us, but we have our own constraints. There's huge labor shortages, skilled trade shortages. The entry to barrier in roofing is minimal. Anyone can become a roofer. So we have our own issues to deal with.
Yep.
With that being said, yeah, looking at the dynamic of the industry, we're not going to scale. It doesn't allow, it doesn't serve our interest. We feel that there was a period of time where we were doing more volume and customers were not getting their calls returned as fast. Our service was lacking. Guys were all over the place, and we were just turning money over, right? And we're like, oh, okay, well, now this much, this much, and you're right. And the bottom line was still less than it was the year before. So part of the whole strategy, again, our association with GAF and becoming a master lead contractor and everything else was, okay, we are going to give, instead of giving two customers, this much value, we're going to give one customer this much value, and they're going to appreciate it. And over the years, what I found was as our customer base would change, our referrals would also change. Because the guy that was now the homeowner that was now referring us, Jim was now referring us to Bob, and Bob knew that Jim wants top of the line stuff, and Bob's the same. You know what I mean? Like it just, and from there again, if we did a high end project with synthetic slates, we were referred to by another customer that was willing to pay for quality. You know what I mean? So we found that works better.
Yeah. So it's not just a thought process on optimizing your profitability, but the experience that you can give the customer was also a consideration in that, because man, you will break things when you grow, and customer service will break down. Your production process will break down. Your sales team and process will break everything. It's amazing how it happens. Yeah, you'll break down. Yeah, and so so now in that focus, let's talk a little bit about that focus on that customer experience and being able to put the time in it from the time that perspective, that prospect hits your company. How are you handling them, and what is the thought process behind the customer journey with the roofers?
So one thing I think I mentioned to you, and I mentioned this very openly to people, is people don't get excited about doing the roof, right? I mean, you'll get excited about your countertops, you get excited about your couch and your flooring and your furniture and your car and all that stuff. But nobody actually gets excited about, oh, look at my new roof. And for most people, I think the novelty wears off within a week and they'll never even look at the roof again, right? So our whole thing was just to make the customer experience better and make it different. And that starts from just how we greet them. Like when you said about when I first started, all the things I noticed, they were different. A lot of these contractors would just pick up the phone and be like, hey, hello. Yeah, I'm a roofer, right? Or even something as simple as like a greeting, like, oh, thank you for calling the roofers. You're speaking with Sean. How can I help you? And they'll be like, oh, I can't believe I got through to somebody. So that was one of our big things, like picking up the phone, returning the call, and initiating, again, the first appointment, going out there, answering their questions, sending them a detailed quote. Over the years, like homeowners would say, like, they'd pull out like a scrap piece of paper on like some carbon fiber thing, and they'd be like, this other guy said that he's going to do this for us. Are you going to do that too? And I'd be like, yeah, like, look at our beautiful presentation where we're showing you exactly what we're going to do. So that was one of the big things. And over the years, like you mentioned about even marketing too, we kept putting back into that. So like our presentation, when we send a quote to somebody, besides the fact that we've explained the whole process to them in person, when they look at our quote, they'll fully get it. So it's very self-explanatory. It educates them. It tells them what the products are. They don't have to like take notes even on what we discuss because it's all there for them. And then everything. And then so that gets done. The job gets scheduled. Somebody calls them. We don't just show up. Hi, Jim, we're scheduling your roof for Wednesday. Please do this in anticipation for our coming. Great, no problem. We tell them we're going to be there at 7, and they're shocked that we're actually there at 7. Someone knocks on the door. Good morning. I just want to let you know, all these little things. And then the experience, the guys showing up, how they're presentable. Are they yelling, cursing? Is there garbage everywhere? How well is the cleanup? These are the things that I personally think matters to a customer just as much as the quality of the work does. And that's what we made our focus on.
And I think just a quick thought on that is the neighbors see it too. And you look different. And so how do you do with what, how well of a, I mean, do you get a lot of referrals from the neighbors? Do you get a lot of referrals from your homeowners? Do
We
you?
get a good, I would say, at least 30 to 40% of our work, or close to it, is mostly referrals now. Either direct referrals, like, hey, my friend Jim referred me, or I saw you down the street.
Yeah.
You guys seem to know what you're doing. So we get a lot of referrals that way. And one of the things I found is homeowners are happy to refer us. Like sometimes you go, hey, Jim, do you know a roofer? And you go, yeah, I know Sean in Toronto, right? But there's a difference when Jim goes around going, oh my God, I just got my roof done. These guys I know it's just a roof, but this was an amazing experience. You have to use it. When you need your roof done, Jim, you got to use this. And I remember like just doing a roof, and I'm not as involved with the homeowners anymore, but I would just call them, like, or I drop by and they're like, oh my God, you guys were amazing. I already referred you to my girlfriends and my sister and this and that. And I'm like, oh, they need roofs too. And they're like, no, but we still referred you anyways because we were just so impressed and we've never had this kind of experience with the contractor. So I find it's getting easier. And I think from a consumer standpoint, people are more, myself as a consumer, put more value in what a friend or neighbor refers to than maybe even something I read online, right?
Yeah.
Especially with something like roofing, where, like you said, we're visibly out there. Our work is basically doing the pitch, is the sales pitch for us. We don't have to tell the guy anymore, we're going to protect your property, Mr. Customer. We're going to put tarps down. We're going to do this, because he's seeing it in front of him. And then he sees it a week later when we do the neighbor crossing. You know what I mean? So, and one of the things that we've been fortunate is within our geographic area, we haven't had to really go out much, unless it was like a referral basis kind of thing.
Yeah. So then you said you have a really comprehensive quote that you're giving them. How has that changed throughout the years? Where did you start with that, and what does it evolve to?
Um, it started like most contractors on a piece of carbon fiber, some very basic notes,
Yep.
a lot of it filled in, and they got a little bit better and a little bit better. And then with the help of a colleague, we actually put something together with images and explaining the roofing system and the actual products, almost like data sheets on the ice and water shield, making this all available, not to bombard them with it where they get overwhelmed, but within the proposals, there's links that say, okay, click here, do this, do that. So all that information is there. It's a lot more. It's a lot more personal, right? It's there's a letter from the company president saying, things like welcome and we look forward to it. This is who we are. This is our history. Hey, this is how we are. We are GAF Master Elite. We're accredited by this. I find that it takes a lot of the questions, even a lot of their objections, out the door once they see the quote and they see the proposal. They don't have to look for our reviews because it's there. It says there's a click on the link to go read all of our online reviews, all of our liabilities. Everything is already there, right? So it's like giving the homeowner a package right off the bat saying, hey, all your concerns are alleviated. We have our reviews, we have our insurances, and we're also backed by the biggest manufacturer in North America.
Yeah. Making it easy. I like the way that the thought process there of anything that will help them make a decision, you include it. It might not be within the, but there's a link to it. They could just go, hey, you want to really know the ins and outs of this? Click here. Or if you want to see what other people have said about us, click here. And putting that all in place so that it's that they can actually go out and verify what the sales rep has said to them, right? It's a good process. That's awesome. I also like you said what the letter from the president or or from the owner or from the right like they're not people buy from who they know like and trust, and a lot of times that ends up being the sales rep. That's not the company specifically, right? Because they get to know and like the sales rep, but from a higher level perspective of including that in the proposal or to the in the estimate and things like that is saying, hey, this is who we are. These are our values. This is what we're going to do for you. I love that, man. That is it's just it sets you apart from the other person that sat at their kitchen table.
It does. And one thing that we emphasize too is we're not like aggressive.
Yep.
I know there's sales guys that, won't leave your kitchen table until you've signed the contract. And we've had guys like that in the past and they didn't last that long. Because at the end of the day, the way I personally always looked at it is going back to what I said about people don't get excited for, doing their roofs. What they're essentially buying from us is peace of mind. So, if they're not comfortable with us, they don't have the peace of mind.
Yeah.
So that's why that letter, even sometimes like I'll just show up on site and they're looking at me like, who's this kid? Right? Because everybody's much older too. And I go, hey, I'm Sean. I think I was the one that called you to say we're going to be coming to your roof soon. Oh, yeah. And it all of a sudden, and I could have just been, just driving by home or whatever on the way I dropped in. But in the homeowner's mind, it's like, wow, the owner came by.
Yeah.
Check on my roof. I'm special, whatever it is. That's an important feeling to give to the homeowner. And when I do show up, I do, watch what the guys are doing, and that helps.
Yep. It does for sure. What else have you done or put into place on production day to to make that customer feel become a raving fan?
Our cleanup and our setup is unmatched. I mean, tarps, plywood over windows, doors, everything is overly protected. The foreman or site super first thing knocks on the door, introduces himself, says, listen, this is where we're setting up, this, that. Goes through that quick little process. And a lot of times homeowners, again, they're like, okay, we dealt with the sales guy and now somebody else is showing up. Are they going to do what they said that the sales guy said he's going to do and stuff like that? And right off the bat, as soon as they ask a question, or even before they've asked any questions, site super's like, so we're going to strip it all off, 6 feet ice and water shield. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm getting this. That's right, Mr. Customer. I'm fully aware you are getting this. So right away, the guy's like, okay, we're already on the same page. I can go inside now and have my coffee and enjoy my breakfast or whatever it is. And the one thing I found is very early on in the job, homeowners, even though they may have seen us in the neighborhood 1,000 times, they go, okay, you guys clearly know what you're doing. I'm going to work. When do you think you're going to be done? And we're like, we'll be done this afternoon. We're like, okay, come by. I'll have a check for you. Like it just bodes very well that, the guy that's showing up, that's overseeing everybody else, is doing exactly what the salesperson said they're going to do. And again, we also make a big emphasis on making the sales guys or myself or anybody else available too. So if there's a concern, that homeowner rightfully can call the sales rep and say, hey, I just want to make sure they're doing this. And that sales rep has the site super's number to call them and say, hey, make sure you do this. So we don't, cover our bases.
What does your process look like for that communication from the sales rep to the site supervisor, to make sure that they communicate what was communicated to the customer, without too much of the telephone game, right? Like, do you guys use Company Cam, or do you use certain softwares or different things that help you?
Yeah,
AccuLinks?
Yeah, we use AccuLinks as our CRM. We haven't fully integrated the on-site guys with things like Company Cam and using things like AccuLinks. That in itself is a struggle, because some of these guys are just like, hey, man, I don't want to be bothered with this.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that we're going to focus on. But yeah, mostly AccuLinks. And oftentimes, believe it or not, like it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Like a simple text message saying, hey, make sure you add a vent on the garage is all it really takes, right? And I think part of what we've luckily been able to do the last little while is kind of as best as possible, create a company culture where everybody cares. So the sales guy cares to tell them to add the extra vent, because the sales guy doesn't want the customer to be disappointed, and you know what I mean? So everybody has something vested in it. So I think that's helped a lot too. And the guys are comfortable telling each other too. It's not like, I'm kind of telling you what to do kind of thing. We're working together. Oh, you forgot the vent? I'll go get it, kind of thing like that.
Yep. And that is definitely a company culture thing, right? And that we're all in it together. It's not sales versus production.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So over the years, what is it, like 15 years or whatever that you guys have been in business, what are some of the things what are some of the hurdles that you came across that you're like, we finally got through this one and it made a big impact in our business?
We finally got through this one and it made a big impact on our business. I think, it's hard to say. One thing would have been when we decided to transition from just being a roofer that does roofs and becoming a roofer that does roofing systems. And we actually do quality work, and we're okay with not getting the job because the homeowner refuses to put underlayment. And that's what we do now, right? So if you say, I don't want ice and water shield, we kind of thank you for your time and walk away, or whatever it may be, or underlayment for that matter. So that was a big thing, because you were accustomed to something, it was very easy, and now you were trying to convince people and homeowners, and rightfully so, that this is the right way to do the roof, right? So that was a transition. It was a transition for us too. But then once we got through it and we saw how easy it was and how easier it continues to get, all of a sudden we were ahead of everybody else. Because only now do I find, roofing contractors are like, no, you got to put underlayment, and stuff like that, right? Whereas before, a lot of these guys would just focus on giving the cheapest price so they could get the job, right? So that was a big breakthrough. And personally, for myself, when I bought my partner out, that was one big one for me too.
What were so you originally had a partnership, and then you ended up buying out. What were the things that didn't work in the partnership that, if you were to have a business partner in the future, you would want to make sure we're in alignment?
I wouldn't want a business partner in the future. But no, one of the things that we have now one of my colleagues too, and is I didn't have it back then. Is we weren't on the same page. We wanted
Yeah.
different things for the business and also personally, lifestyle wise. And when you're not on the same page on a lot of those things, it can just create a lot of conflict. Um, so that was a big thing. Was when I got into this, like I said, roofing kind of got into me. I was just so gun ho excited about having my own company and finally being able to put my marketing whatever skill set to use and my sales stuff to use. That I didn't really think a lot about this stuff,
Yeah.
and I also just thought my ideas were so great. Why wouldn't she just why wouldn't we be on the same page kind of thing? So that was a bit of an issue, but definitely I think the biggest thing for myself, if I ever do it in the future, or anybody else that wants to, is make sure you're aligned both professionally in the business and what you want for the business and your personal life. If you're not there at the same stages on your personal life, it's not going to work in your business life either.
Yeah. That's a big thing. You don't think about it, but if one person, even down to like the life that you have going on, if one person has young children in the house, and someone else has is an empty nester, and they have all the time in the world, that imbalance in the amount of time that someone's able to focus could cause some resentment
Yeah,
through time.
resentment and just everything, right? It comes with the territory.
Yeah, a lot of little things, and being aligned in where you want to go. Those discussions up front in partnerships, boy, it's definitely a marriage,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
And it's hard to unwind from each other sometimes. I don't know what your challenges were in buying your partner out, but I'm sure that it was like, oh, you get this in the divorce, and I get this in
Yeah,
the divorce.
it was exactly like divorce court. Like, who gets the air miles and who gets this,
Right.
stuff like that, right? But yeah, that was definitely something that was it was a breakthrough, and it was a very good breakthrough.
Yeah. So you and I were talking about just business ownership in general, and being a roofing contractor is it fits into this, but just business in general. There's always these worries, right? That it could go away at any time. I've heard it analogized as it's like there's always a wolf chasing you. You're always on the run. You're always, and the wolf is our competitors. The wolf is, an economic downturn. The wolf could be, like we dealt with in the, through the pandemic in material shortages and things like that. Like there's always a wolf chasing you. Um, how have you dealt with those worries along the way?
Um, well, that would be true for any business owner in any business,
Hmm.
but it's what sometimes the wolf can get so close to you, where you're just like, man, just I'm done, just chew me up to pieces. I'm and sometimes, believe it or not, I kind of look forward to the wolf because it's another challenge and it could set you up for something better.
Yeah,
But absolutely, like over the years, this wolf has taken the shape of many forms: economic, personal, even maybe even outside your business that you can't
yeah,
control. Material shortages, labor shortages, just an assortment of things. The one thing that I can say for myself, and maybe if you just started out, it might bode well for you to hear this, is if you have it in you, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, if you're willing to do whatever it takes, over time you're going to learn, no matter what happens, no matter how close that wolf gets to you, you're going to be able to outrun it. So I've had foremen and great guys just disappear on me and go to another company. I was short staffed, I didn't know what to do. Oh my god, oh my god. And then a month later it was all resolved. uh,
yeah,
like I said, breakthrough. I had a business partner, didn't know what was going to happen next, got through it. COVID. I mean, when COVID hit, I was just like, okay, well, I just, what are we going to do next, right? But sure enough, COVID didn't have that effect that I thought it was going to have, and the pandemic, at least for us, fortunately, didn't. And all these things over the years that I've just learned is, uh, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, it doesn't matter. You'll do well. And I tell this to everybody: you could have 10 crews today, and tomorrow you can have one crew. As long as you know what to do when you have 10 crews, you know what to do when you have one crew, you'll be okay.
Yeah. I guess you do get comfortable in the chase, right? Like, and making sure that your mindset is right in terms of, um, in terms of there will always be a problem to solve. That's kind of the way I like to look at it. Is if you learn that there will always be another problem, and that's what your role is to solve the next problem and make it through. And I think that's uh, a helpful way of looking at it
Yeah,
for
that, you're
sure.
right. Your job is to just solve problems, and
Yeah,
you have to get up knowing that there's a good chance there's a problem you have to solve today. And the days you
there
don't,
is a
those
good
those are
chance.
days off. But otherwise, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, there is a good chance you open that email, listen to that first voicemail, get that text message. Like there's, and so as a business owner, being able to accept that.
Yeah, that it comes with the territory. That's
Yeah,
that's one of the harder things to do.
it is. But I think you kind of made a point, or you said something. It has been easier over time, right? Because as you have, in the beginning, there's even down to the way that you've kind of refocused your strategy on the higher end, kind of customer, or not even higher end, but someone that's willing to pay for value. You know, in the beginning in business, you better take every check that comes your way, right? Like you got to keep the lights on. That's number one, right? And then from there, you can evolve and you can make small iterations to your business that all of a sudden 15 years down the road you look back and it's not anywhere near what it was when you started. And that's success, I think. So what do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped you guys, that's helped you find success over the years?
Um, Insights. I mean, I have very cliche insights, like things like, treat the customers you want to be treated, and things of that nature. You know, a few things I've learned from experiences, and now with age, uh, it's better to have friends in this industry than enemies. So I've found what's contributed to our success, part of our success over the years, is we've befriended a lot of like-minded roofing companies, and at times we've helped each other. So I think that's very important. Um, I think customer relations, that's very important. Like one thing that we were always adamant on, and I was the victim of this, no matter how bad of a mistake we made, it was on us. If we under ordered material, I would never go cry to the customer. I wouldn't even want them to know because I'd be so embarrassed. And I'd be like, I don't want them to even think that the guy they hired just miscalculated by 300 square feet or whatever it was. Um, a lot of things like that about, like, I think a lot of guys go into business, generally speaking, to just, they look at the money and how much money is being made. They don't think about things like, well, what happens if the customer's unhappy and they don't pay you? What if they were just fraudsters and never wanted to pay you? What if this happens? What if the truck breaks down on the guy's lawn? What if, like, all these different things? So if there was one insight overall I could give to people, is really make as many friends in the industry as possible. The more people you have that you can count on, because that wolf can always get close to you, the better it is for you. And to no word of a lie, we've had guys that used to work for us. We helped them become roofers. They went and started their own companies, And to this day, if I was ever in a jam and I said, "Hey, man, I need your help. Something's gone wrong," and whatever it is, whether it's to borrow a tool or help me on site, I can reach out to them. And I think that's the one thing, whether it's roofing, windows, whatever it is, the more friends you have in the industry, the better.
Awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue for your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.